Greetings, all my metal friends. How's it going? God bless ya. Today I got something special for ya. We're gonna be talking Mangled Carpenter. Wanna know more? Don't know who they are? You'll learn right here, right now. So, let's go quickly. We're gonna be talking today with Seth. Correct me if I'm saying your last name wrong. Metoyer. First, Seth, let's start off with, who are you in Mangled Carpenter?
Hey brother, thanks for having me on. My name is Seth Metoyer, and I do vocals and guitars in Mangled Carpenter.
Who else is in Mangled Carpenter?
Christopher Olsen on the bass and Mac Hine on the drums.
What style do you consider Mangled Carpenter to be? Let me show this here.
I consider Mangled Carpenter to be extreme metal. We have influences from so many other genres. Some people have classified us as death grind. Other people say death metal. We have elements of death metal, elements of grindcore, and then other elements of different styles. Just anything, with some chunk crunch guitar, blast beats. We just like cool grooves, and then we also like a lot of blast beats. We just really wanted to come at this project with just brutality, heaviness, and we get that a lot of people, especially in the Christian industry, aren't familiar with bands that do our style because they're either into black metal or death metal or symphonic death metal. But mixing grindcore and death metal is actually pretty popular in the secular realm. There's bands like Cattle Decapitation, Aborted, other bands like that, and those are the kind of fans that we're hoping will check our music out.
Why that name? Where does it come from? What's the story behind it?
The name Mangled Carpenter comes from an original idea that Christopher and I had actually all the way back in the 90s. We were in high school together and came up with a few ideas for band names, and we actually had a list of band names, and Mangled Carpenter was one of them. And we sent out a snail mail letter to one of our favorite bands at the time, Haven. Had a pretty cool album. We really liked Your Dying Day was a good album. Anyways, we wrote them and said, hey, what name on here do you think sounds the coolest? And they wrote us back actually, and they were like, man, Mangled Carpenter sounds cool. So we're like, man, yeah, let's stick with that. But Mangled Carpenter is pretty simple. It's basically about Christ, who the Bible talks about and scholars talk about him being a carpenter. And then also we know that he was crucified and beaten, and he was mangled. So we just put them together and always thought it sounded cool, and no one else was using it.
What are Mangled Carpenter's main theme of the songs? What are your songs about? Why did you choose to do it the way you did in Mangled Carpenter, or Under the Shadow?
The theme of Under the Shadow, our first full-length album, is basically brutal Bible stories. We want to take a journey through the Bible of some of our favorite stories, or some of the more graphic visual stories. And we had this idea all the way back in the 90s when we first started the project Mangled Carpenter. We loved bands like Vengeance Rising, Mortification, and how they would do things like brutal stories of Christ, on the whipping post or something like that. But then they'd also have scriptures and show you in the Bible where those things were, and it seemed to make it really interesting to us. And I think that we wanted to do something similar. Other bands have done it. We won't be the last, of course, but So we took songs like, The Summoning, which is, a story about Saul summoning the spirit of Samuel for wisdom of a battle coming up, and, the flood, Christ's journey to the cross, and the stations of the cross, and Judas and his betrayal and ultimate demise, things like that we just think were very visual and interesting. And so that's the main goal of that album, was to focus on those things. Other than that, the new album that's we're going to be working on, and we're hoping to possibly release it next year, we'll see, through our label Rottweiler Records. But one thing that's been on my mind lately about songwriting and is more a focus on more philosophy, spiritual things within, the church, within society. And I think that it's going to be a really cool aspect of our songs. But so we're looking forward to that. But so stay tuned, and you'll see kind of the progression of our lyrics and our focus. But it'll be on things still of the nature of spirituality, and but probably not all focused on stories taken from the Bible.
What's next for Mangled?
What's next for Mangled Carpenter? Well, I alluded to that a little bit on the last question, but basically, to reiterate, we're going to be releasing another full-length album, hopefully next year, on Rottweiler Records, and we have started writing some of the songs. We're in the beginning stages, but it's going to be heavy, brutal, everything that people who enjoy Mangled Carpenter should also enjoy as well. We also have a side industrial project for anybody that's interested in industrial metal. Me and Christopher do programming, and we write the music, and it's heavy. It's called Brain Matter. You can find it anywhere on social media, streaming sites, and we have CDs as well. But we released an EP, and we're also working on a new album for that upcoming album on that as well.
Last but not least, most important, who is Jesus Christ for you and for Mangled Carpenter?
That is always a deep question. Who is Jesus Christ for me or for the band? And, I think that it's a deep question because it's always asked to people what their testimony is or who Jesus Christ is to them. And, at the end of the day, I don't really think that it's important to anybody who Jesus is to me, because it's a personal thing and it's a very powerful thing. What I challenge people to do is ask themselves who Jesus is to them. And because that's the important question. In the way that society handles Jesus, the interesting thing is that everybody knows who Jesus is. Everybody has heard of it. Everybody's heard the good news. I think that when the apostles and disciples were told to spread the news around the world, that they did that, and it's been accomplished. I mean, and there's always people who want to hear more about it, and that's our jobs as believers to tell people what we believe, or at least show them, because I think today in Christianity there's a lot of posturing, there's a lot of know-it-alls, there's a lot of people who don't really live as a good example. And I think that the more important question is how am I perceived by other people? Am I showing the things that Christ taught, to love our neighbor, to be kind to your neighbor, to help the poor, help the needy, things like that. And I always go back to Philippians 2:12. It says, to seek out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And I think we're always supposed to be seeking. Jesus Christ, to me, is something I'm always seeking. I'm seeking more knowledge about Jesus Christ, a deeper relationship with him, asking questions, pondering things through faith, science, philosophy. And I think that it's a good thing to do, and we should always be doing that and always be asking questions and check ourselves for what we believe. and not be so concerned with what we want others to think we believe, because they should know us by our fruits. I mean, I'm not perfect. I am not a zealot. I'm not a fundamentalist. I just want to be the best person I can be to myself, to the world, to people around me, show Christ's love, and to continue to seek Christ and seek truth. And I challenge everyone else to do that, and I hope that they do.
Any last words?
Just to let everybody know that you can find Mangled Carpenter on social media at Mangled Carpenter. You can hit us up with any questions you have. We're open to answering anything that people might ask. Our music can be found on all streaming sites, from Spotify to iTunes to Bandcamp. We've got some stuff on YouTube. We've got CDs. If you want a signed CD, hit us up. Also thought I'd give a really quick plug for a t-shirt. This is Mary's Seven Demons t-shirt with the Mangled Carpenter logo. We had this artwork commissioned, and it turned out really good. And basically it's about the story of Mary being possessed by 7 demons, and then Christ casting those out of her into pigs. So we thought that, again, it would be a brutal thing. You can get this shirt at christianbandshirts.com. We have other merchandise up there too. Help us out, help support us if you can. Get a shirt, take a picture of yourself in the shirt if you want, or if you get any merchandise from us, and we'll share it on social media if you're cool with that.
All right, so everyone check out Mangled Carpenter, and yeah, let's see who's up next. God bless.